This is Cencom. Cencom is a CAM IDE system, and at its core, it's a database of research projects, and it allows a chief investigator of a project to have authority over who has access to each CAM IDE system. So it allows a level of data governance that has not been possible before. So CAM IDE systems that you can give access to through Cencom are RedCap, HPHI, RStudio, the Safe Haven, and XNAT. Cencom can be logged in using Raven, and you can only log in if you do have a Raven ID. If you leave the university, you no longer have a Raven ID, and your access to Cencom and related systems is automatically expired. So there are multiple user roles for Cencom. There's a general user, the delegate, and a chief investigator. The general user is only has access to read project details, but they are unable to perform any more actions. The delegate and the chief investigator are also able to edit details on projects that they are on. They can add users to their projects, and they can add new projects to Cencom. And the chief investigator is able to also assign a delegate to their projects. So this allows the chief investigator to delegate authority from themselves to another user, so the user can perform actions on their behalf, which saves the chief investigator from having to complete an administrative task on Cencom. So this is the Projects tab. This is a list of every project that we currently have within Cencom. There are currently over 600 projects in Cencom. And you can see some basic data in this table on each project, but each project actually has their own page. You can search through this list of projects using the text box. And you can see I search for NSPN, and anything that has NSPN in the title has appeared. So let's start off with neuroscience and psychiatry, so the original NSPN project. So this is the NSPN project page. As you can see, you have a little summary on the project. So this is some text which gives you a brief idea of what this project was actually about. And you have the project summary table. So if you have any delegates, you'll see them here. You'll see the name of the group this project is part of. You see the department. You also see the P code. So if you use Wibic, you'll have a P code, and that'll be displayed here. You'll see the Q code. If you have anything on HPHI, you'll have a Q code, the ethics reference number, and the ethics start date. So this gives you a very quick and easy way to find this information out if you need it. If you are a user on this project, so I'm a user on the NSPN project, you can also see the comments box, and you can edit the comments. However, if you are not a user on this project, you will not be able to see any of these. Then you can see the users on project table. This is a list of every user that has that's on the NSPN project. It tells you what they have access to, and if anyone has had their access revoked, if they've come up to their expiry date, you'll see that they will be expired and it'll say revoked. So if you are a chief investigator or delegate, you'll also see a few more details. So this is the NSPN COVID project. As you can see, I am a delegate on this project. And if I'm a delegate, I can also see a few more details, which a user on a project cannot see. So I can edit a project. Here I can simply edit the details in the project summary table. And I can edit some additional data if I need to. As a project delegate, I can also complete a few more actions. So I can add a user to this project. So I search for the user here. To search for the service ID and it will already come up. I add their role, add what they need access to. If they don't need access to anything, that's fine. If you have XNAT, then you can see XNAT column pop up and you can add them as collaborator, a user, or an owner. If you have HPHI, you can add read only or read and write access. You can also put the date approved. So if I put the date approved as tomorrow, then their date will be approved tomorrow and they can only have access starting from tomorrow. And the expiry date. So as soon as the expiry date passes, that's when this participant will have the access removed from all of these systems. So that can be useful if a user is still a part of the University of Cambridge and therefore has a Raven ID but are no longer a part of this project. So as you can see, I added this user, and what I can now do is provoke the access. So if a user leaves a project earlier than the expiry date, then you can revoke the access, and as you can see, the access from project has now been removed. So going back to the projects tab, if you would like access to a project, you can search for the project, go to that projects page, and you can click on the request to join project button. So here I want to request to join the site test project as a data manager. I can put some comments to say this is an example and I want access to GradCap, and I simply press submit. So now the chief investigator of this project has received a request from myself. So I go to my user area, I go to my project requests, and I can see the project request that I have just submitted. So the chief investigator of this project will need to approve this before I can actually be a part of this project. So going back to the projects page, you can also add a project from this page. So just going to add a test project. As an example, you put the project title in. If you have an acronym, you put the acronym here. If you don't, then that's fine. You select the status this project is in. If you have a summary, you can add that here. If you have an ethics reference there. Here is an affiliation, so say we're part of the Department of Psychiatry. Then you'll see some more data pop up. The group we want to add to is the Bullmore group. And I would say that I am a delegate on this project, so that I have permission from the chief investigator. As I'm not the chief investigator myself, I need to select the chief investigator from the list. So you see a pop-up of chief investigators in the list, and I can also define my own personal role on this project as the data manager. If I'm collecting any samples or images, I tick that box, and I am collecting MRI samples, so I just tick MRI. If I need access to any additional systems, I tick them here, and I just press next. So that's a simple way of adding a project. In this instance, the name test project already exists, so I will simply amend the name to test project 9. So as you can see, the system is quite foolproof in that way. The title does need to be unique. Now I'm just reviewing the information that I simply added, just to make sure that everything is correct, and I press submit to submit a request. And now what's happened is, because I was a delegate, I was able to create the project, and you can see the details on the project. you can already see the Chief Investigator and the Data Manager. And then next we have the Departments tab. So this is a list of every department that has a project on Cencom. As you can see, there are quite a few projects which have departments on Cencom. If there is a head of department, you'll see the name of the head of department as well, the school that this department is part of, and a link to the website of that project. If you click on a project department's title, you go into the department view. So this is Department of Psychiatry. You see in total there are 307 projects, of which 12 are in development, 137 are in data collection, 94 are in analysis, and 64 are archived. So for the first time we start to get some level of an overview of what research is currently going on within the department. And here you'll also see a list of the groups within this department as well. You can also search for projects that are within only this department if you wish to. If I want to search for anything related to COVID, I can see there are these 3 different projects related to COVID that are ongoing within department at the moment. And I can click on any of them, and then I can see a bit more detail on that if I wish to. Next is the Users tab. By clicking on here, you see a table which has a list of every user on Cencom. You can see their CRS ID, their name, email and department from this view. So if you are thinking of adding a user to a project, you can simply search for the name and you can see their CRS ID. But also if there is a certain person whose work you are interested in, you can search for them here, click on the CRS ID, and then you go to that user's page. Here you see some basic details about this user, such as email, what their title is, if they're part of the University of Cambridge or not, what their institution is, and the department. And then you can see the project affiliations. So these are the projects which this user is currently part of, and here you can also see the role that they have on this project. So this is very useful if you are interested in seeing the work that a certain person is currently completing or they have completed. Next we have the user area. So if you are a delegate or a chief investigator, you can click on your user area and you will see a to-do list. So a to-do list is actions that you have to perform. You can see the My Projects table. So these are projects which I as a user am part of. And then you can see any requests that you have made. So in this instance, I have made a request to be added to this project. So going back to the to-do list, I have a request from this user to join this project here. So I click on review. Here I see some brief details on this project. So this user here, that's the CRS ID, and they wish to join this project, and here's some comments from them. So I can approve this user. The user is now approved, so I can click on the project and I can go back and see that this user has now been added to this project. So if you are stuck at any point, you can simply click on the Help tab and you can use quick links to browse through the Help tab or download the user guide, or simply scroll through and you will be able to read the user guide. There's screenshots as well and information on how to perform different actions. If you have any feedback at all, you can click the feedback button, whether your experience is positive or negative. You can simply write your subject and your message and you request that you send yourself a copy, and an email will be sent to the Cencom administrators. So that's a brief overview of Cencom. Feel free to log in using the link here, and feel free to have a play around, and please send us any feedback if you have any.